Hello everyone. Do you want to understand the basics of JavaScript? Then you are at the right place. In this video, I will try to explain the important concepts that you need to understand before deep diving into any advanced JavaScript concepts. Let's see what are the topics we are covering today. So first, we are going to see what is JavaScript and why we need to learn JavaScript. The next one is what are variables and what are the different ways actually we can declare variables in JavaScript. The other important topic is what are all data types available in JavaScript. So next one is after creating the variables, we want to compare the values, right? So we will go through how equality operator works in JavaScript. The next one is how we can print these values in JavaScript. Before we start learning the concepts, let's understand what is JavaScript and why we need to learn JavaScript. So basically, JavaScript is a programming language which was initially designed to communicate with only web browsers. Now JavaScript is more popular and now we are using it outside browser environment as well. If you see, almost 99% of the web page in the internet uses JavaScript, and it is essential to learn JavaScript if you want to start a career in web development. It is absolutely necessary to understand the basics to start learning advanced JavaScript frameworks like React and Angular. So let's start with variables. So what are variables? So variables are nothing but names with which we will be able to store the information we need in the program to execute. To give an example, it is very similar to how we label the containers in the kitchen, which will be useful to identify and pick the things inside the container. So in JavaScript, there are three ways to declare the variable: var, let, and const. Var. So basically, this is the old school way of naming a variable. Let's see the syntax. And before that, if you want to execute a JavaScript program, right, you don't need any fancy text editor. Whatever editor you have is sufficient. You can start writing a program even with your notepad. To execute the JavaScript program, open your browser and just press Command Option J if you are in Mac. And if you are in Windows or Linux, you can use Control Shift and J. So it will open this console panel where you can start typing your JavaScript programs. So for this course, I will be using a VS Code editor. So let's start with a simple syntax. Say to declare a var, right? So this is the syntax var. So var is the keyword here, and name, whatever name we want to say, my first variable. First variable equal to hello world. So if you see this syntax, var is the keyword for a variable and first variable is the name. So this variable is actually an identifier for the developer to understand, okay, what is the name of this particular variable, and this is the value. So hello world is a value which is assigned to this particular variable. So we actually don't need to use this var keyword going forward because there are a lot of hosting issues in JavaScript using this var keyword. We will understand about hosting in future videos. For now, you just need to understand we have this keyword var. Okay. Let's go through a next variable called let. So similar to var, let is also the same. So let is the keyword here. My second variable. Hello. So similar to var, let is the keyword here. My second variable is the name and hello is the value here. So to understand the benefits of let, we want to understand about scoping. So to give a very simple idea, whatever inside the braces, right, it is a scope. So basically, if you are declaring a variable using let inside this particular scope, we cannot access that variable outside this scope. So let's give a simple example. So consider we have a function add. So let number 1 equal to 1. Let number 2 equal to 2. Let sum equal to num1 plus num2. If you see it here, this is the braces. So basically, this creates a scope within this function where we have two variables, num1 and num2. This num1 and num2 are actually accessible within this function add. Okay, so if you try to access that num1 outside this scope, right, we won't be able to access this num1. Let's quickly see. So I am adding it here, calling this function. So this add is a function. So basically we are calling this function here. So you can ignore this if you can't understand this one. We will go through about functions in detail in the future videos. But for now, assume this is a part of some piece of code which is getting executed. Okay. So now if I try to run this one, you will get a reference error. Num1 is not defined because JavaScript is not able to identify this num1 outside this scope, but it is able to understand what is num1 within this scope. So that is the advantage we have while using this let keyword. Okay. So now let's proceed to const. So similar to let and var, const is also a variable with the syntax const, my constant. So basically we use constant for variables which don't change. For example, say if you want to give a value of pi, we can change it to 3.14 something. So now what happens? The value of pi won't get changed. So in those cases, we need to use const. The only difference between const and let is, so with let, say for example, let number equal to 10, we can update this first num to some different value. But with const, right, we won't be able to update with a different value. So that is the only thing. That is the only difference between let and const. So basically, let will allow you to update this variable value, but const won't allow you to update this value because we are declaring it as a constant and we are telling JavaScript that, see, the value of this particular variable won't change during the execution. So if you see, you will get this error, type error, assignment to constant variable. But if you see the first num, it is updated to the value 20 because we updated this first num with the value 20. So this is the only advantage of using const. So basically the thumb rule is if your value won't get changed, you need to use const. In other case, you need to use let. Okay. So now let's understand what are all the data types available in JavaScript. So in general, data types are basically used to tell your computer that we want to compute value of certain type. So In this video, we will go through only the major data types which we will be using it regularly. So JavaScript has string, number, Boolean, object, undefined, and null. So these are all the major data types available in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, right? Say for example, you wrote some code which you don't want to execute. So basically, technically, we will say it as we want to comment this code. So what we can do? So either you can put two backslash before that line, or if you want to comment this whole line, right? So put slash star, then star slash. So this is how actually we will comment. So before discussing about data types in JavaScript, we want to understand a difference between strictly typed and dynamically typed language. So JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, while few programming languages like Java, C++ are strictly typed language. So what is the difference here? For example, say consider we are creating one variable, let a equal to 10. Now in JavaScript, we will be able to update this value with a different data type altogether. For example, in this case, we are assigning a value 10, so which is of type number to this particular variable a. But we are again updating this value with a type string. But in other strictly typed programming languages, we won't be able to update this value dynamically. So that is the only caveat when you are using JavaScript. So be mindful that you are actually not assigning a different data type altogether. Okay, let's discuss about a string. So the syntax is similar to a normal variable, my string equal to. So now we are assigning a value, string value to this particular variable, my string. So there are three different ways with which actually we will be able to assign a value string. For example, either we can use double quotes or we can use single quotes. The third way is using this backtick. So the advantage of using backtick, right? So we will be able to type. So we will be able to assign a multi-line strings directly to this particular variable. Whereas in double quotes or single quotes, we need to append the words using plus symbol, or we need to use slash backslash n if you want to assign a value with multiple lines. So in those cases, we can use this backslash. And one more advantage is we can use this backtick for string templates. So string templates means, for example, let my name equal to Bob. So now when we go, my name is So if you see it here, we are assigning this my name variable with a value called Bob. So basically we are assigning this my name as Bob, and in the let intro we are saying my name is and dollar and my name. So what it means say this backtick is creating a string template. So in this template, this my name is an hard-coded string and dollar my name is a dynamic value. Say for example, if you execute this line, you see, we get intro as my name is Bob, because JavaScript will try to replace this my name with whatever value we are assigning to that particular variable. So dynamically you can replace with some other value, Jack or Job, whoever. The value will get replaced in this template. So this is one advantage of using this backtick. So the next topic is numbers. So in JavaScript, the numbers is a broad category where we can assign a value of any variable with an integer value, or we can assign a value with a float value, decimal value as well. So basically in JavaScript, all the number types are actually grouped into a numbers data type, within which we can assign integer or float values. So there is one special category where we can, in case if you want to use very long numbers, we need to use big int, but actually that is not needed for now. The next one is Boolean. So Boolean is nothing but if you want to assign a truthy or falsy value, we need to use this Boolean. So Boolean is, say, am I right? So for this value, we can assign either true or false. So basically it will be true. So these true or false are very useful when you want to conditionally, if you want to execute your program. So we will see that in future videos. But the thing is, for conditional statements, we will need these Boolean type of values with which we will be able to execute programmatically. Say, for example, if it is true, we will execute some part of code. If it is false, we will execute some part of code. Okay. So we will be using these Boolean values in future videos. The next one is very, very important, object. So first of all, in JavaScript, object is a very vast topic. For now, we will see what are the basics in objects. So apart from the primitive data types, whatever we discussed like string, number, Boolean, everything will come under objects. So in general, objects are nothing but key value pairs in which a key will be a string and value will be can be of any type. Let's consider a simple example. Let address, city, Chennai, country, India. So in this example, so this is an object. So whatever in the left side, right, before this colon, so these are known as keys, and whatever these are known as values. So we call this as a JSON. So basically JSONs are key value pairs, so with which we will be able to assign up any type of values to this particular key, and we can get this value using these keys. For example, let's say, so now, so address will have this key value, and if you want to get the address, sorry, city, we can put address.city. So city is the key here. So with whatever we assign this particular object, so if you put address.city, you will get this value as Chennai. So there is another way where we can access this value. So address of city. So either we can use dot and the particular key name, or we can use square brackets and we can pass this as a string. So we will see about objects in detail and what are the properties available in objects in the future videos. So the next type is arrays. So let items to array. So array is nothing but collection of items. So collection means we can assign many values to this particular items. So here, so we will define an array using this square bracket. So if you put just empty square bracket, that means this items is assigned with an array of type, but with no items in that array. So basically, it's an empty array. If you want to add more items, you can add 1, 2, 3. So now, whenever you add any items to this particular array, so array by default will have an index. So index means, so 1, 2, 3. So index always starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2. So for this particular array, 0th index is 1, first index is 2, and second index is 3. If you are removing any item in this array, then your index also will get changed. Okay. So now if you want to get any of these item, okay, so from the items, if you want to get any items, you need to put items of whatever the index it is getting created. So by default, if you want to get the first element, you need to put 0. So this will return 1. And if you put items of 1, it will return 3. Say, what if you are putting items of 2? In this case, there is no second index itself. You will get undefined. So basically, the items doesn't have this particular index, so it won't return any value. So the next one is undefined. So in JavaScript, whatever value we create, variable we create, right? By default, if you don't assign any value, the value undefined will be set as a default value. For example, let a. So now we are not assigning any value to this variable. So that means we are just declaring a variable and we are not assigning any value. So in this case, by default, undefined will be a value for this particular variable. So in other use case, say for example, if you are creating a function and if you are not returning any value from the function, then in that case also undefined will be a value. So why it is very important, right? So basically in general, you should not assign undefined value manually to any variable. So what I meant, say let b equal to undefined. We should not do like this. The reason is when you are actually programming, it is obvious that if you are not assigning any value to this particular variable, by default undefined will be set. But to a certain use cases, right, where you don't want to set a value, but in that case, you should use null instead of undefined, because the null is an user given value. So we are assigning null value to this particular variable. So in this case, during debugging, we know, okay, because of certain scenarios, we are actually assigning this null value to this particular variable, rather than if you are using undefined, it will be hard to debug whether you are assigning undefined value to this particular variable or the value itself is not assigned by default. Okay. So the thumb rule is, if you are assigning any value, so basically if you don't want any value to be assigned to that particular variable for in certain use cases, then you need to use null. Undefined will be set by JavaScript itself if you are don't assigning from the start for this particular variable. Okay. So the next one is equality operators. So equality operator means, so if you want to compare two values, so then in that case in JavaScript, we can compare either using double equal to or triple equal to. So there is one big difference in using this double equal to or triple equal to. Let's see with an example. Let number 10, 10. Let string 10, 10. In both the cases, if you see, I am assigning this number 10 variable with a value of 10 of type number. Integer is a number. But in this case, string 10, I am assigning the value 10 only, but I am using a type of string. So in this case, it's a number. In this case, it's a string. So now, if you compare these two, say num10 equal to string 10. So see, here you are getting the values true. So basically we are comparing this num10 and string 10 and we are getting the value as true because the reason behind this is when you are using a double equal to, so JavaScript will try to compare only the value and not data type. So basically in the background, what it will do, it will try to convert this number 10 to a string. So in this case, number 10 will become 10 equal to 10. So this is what we called as coercion. So basically JavaScript will try to convert the type to see if it is matching with the specific value. In other cases, if we are using a strict equal to, say, number 10 triple equal to string 10, in this case, we will get it as false. Let's see. See, we are getting it as false. The reason is when you are using triple equal to, both value and data type should be same. So in this case, coercion won't happen, but it will strictly check for whether the type and the value is same. So in this case, if it is both are string, then triple equal to will be true. Okay. So basically when you are checking for any particular values, you need to use triple equal to avoid these type conversions. Okay. So the next one is, say if you want to print any values in JavaScript. So for that, we need to use console logs. So basically console.log. So console.log and whatever value we want to print it. So console log is very similar to print statements which are available in other programming languages. For example, console.log. Okay. We see this value will get printed. So this console log is very super useful while debugging. For example, if you are creating any programs, say get some, uh, then let b equal to 20, let sum equal to a plus b, console.log, my total is sum. You see here, we are calling this function, let a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and we are adding these two values and we are printing that value. So now it is very obvious that when you are calling this function is getting called and we are actually adding the sum of these two variables and we are printing that value. So like this, during debugging, or if you want to see your output, you can use this console statement to print your values. Okay. Okay, guys, that's all for now. We will see about other topics like conditional statements, for loops, and more other topics in the next video. Feel free to share your thoughts in your comment section and subscribe to the channel if you find it useful. Happy learning.